Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. This is how a weasel talks, and this article that I will be reading to you. This article talks about Lithuania's foreign minister, a young man, and this young man is a weasel and he is a sellout. Now pay attention when he uses the words we, us, our, and he's referring to the organization that he thinks he belongs to, which is NATO or European Union or the Western monolithic West. Remember, Lithuania's population is 2.5 million people. It's a little country, not little as a territory, but still little, with 2.5 million people. And it talks as if it has the size of at least China. Economically, militarily, population-wise and all that. Let me read you a few things from this guy. This article comes from Fox News, and this is what this guy says. Lithuanian foreign minister, this is what he says. No greater threat than Russia, and he seeks to preserve global rules-based order. So this guy seeks to preserve the global rules-based order because this world that we live in, he tells us, is a rules-based order. Okay, people follow rules like United States or Israel or Russia. Okay. And these guys are idiots here because they say Lithuania commemorated its entry into NATO. The commemoration is when someone dies and you commemorate his name or so on. You you have an anniversary, a celebration when you have something like this. But anyway, what do you expect? Who's this? Peter Aitken. Whatever. Maybe he's right, but I know that you commemorate something bad, not something good. But why do we shouldn't get stuck on this anyway. Lithuania commemorated its entry into NATO this last week and its long-standing partnership with the US as leaders took ahead to the increasing complex security landscape developing around the world. President George W. Bush visited the Lithuania capital of Vilnius 20 years ago to welcome the country into the still growing NATO alliance. So 20 years ago, Russia was weak. These guys, United States, took advantage of that and stole this country from something that supposedly they promised the Soviet Union that they will not do. 20 years ago. And that was a step coming closer towards Russia. But Russia 20 years ago was just what? A country that got after, what's his name? I was about to say Stalin. Yeltsin's disastrous 9 years, from 1991, let's say, to 2009 years. That's all. Because then Putin got in charge. So and it says here that President George W. Bush made the most famous speech any American has ever made in Lithuania. This is a ass kisser right here. Exactly 20 years ago, Lithuanian foreign minister, his name is this, Gabrielius Landsbergis, told Fox News. That was even before we were a member of NATO. So they should have been smacked then, before they even were a NATO member. But Russia was weak. And this guy creeped on it. That's okay, right? Lithuania accepted approximately 67,000 Ukrainian nationals. Okay. It says here that, and no time in the past 20 years, he says, has seemed more dangerous to Europe than have the past 9 months following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, he says. Landsbergis stressed the threat that Russia poses to Europe, but also Lithuania's proactivity to remain prepared for what comes next. They get ready to fight Russia. 2.5 million people. With all the NATO bullshit, they need one missile and they're gone. But they proactively work for that. And now, this is what this guy says. Definitely, there is no greater threat, geopolitical and military threat, than Russia, he said, noting that Lithuania and some other neighboring countries tried to raise the alarm prior to the invasion's start. Well, if you talk shit and if you do shit, what do you expect? You're a part of NATO. The Russia was just supposed to take it? From your perspective, yes. From the Russians, no. Do you think that was an act of, aggression taken by Russia? And Russia looking like, what the hell, what's going on? I can't act, but I don't like it a bit. Don't you think that maybe triggered something? Anyway, I'm not trying to make Russians poor victims, blah, blah, blah. They have their sins, don't get me wrong. But you have to call bullshit when you see it. And he says, obviously the thing is that the countries who share the border with Russia have little illusion as to what Russia really is, even before the war, he said, pointing out to the 2008 invasion of Georgia. Well, what happened in Georgia, Lambert Babibu? What happened in Georgia? Oh, when we start the chronology only when Russia invaded Georgia. What happened before that? Nothing? Who started the war in Georgia? Saakashvili. So you are a liar by omission. Then he said, and the 2014 offensive in Crimea. You like it only from there. What happened before that? Jubalugi? Again, lying by omission. Didn't the Americans help certain kind of traitors in Ukraine overthrow a legitimate, democratically elected government in Ukraine, which would make them traitors by working with outside interests and services to overthrow a legitimate government? Hey, Lambertsky, how would you like, for instance, let's say Russia supporting a coup in your country, getting you out, and putting their little puppets? Would you like that? Would you consider that as being legitimate power shift? No. What would you do, let's say, if you run from these guys that will overthrow you and your ass? You're going to go to a little province in Lithuania and you say, you know what? We're going to recognize the new guys who took over in Vilnius. Would you do that? No. You would say, we're in this province. We don't recognize the Vilnius administration because it was held by Russia with these criminals. That's exactly what you're going to say. But because this is the Russians that you love not? No, no, no. We start a history only. They, attacked, they got Crimea. Why? What happened in how do you call it? Kiev. What happened in Kiev? That triggered that. But anyway, and it says, enough, even though we are doing our part, you have no part. You're too fucking 0.5 million people, your part. You're naked, bent over, you get it as you get it, anytime, whenever, from those guys. That's what you do. You're a whore. And you accept protection by sucking and taking it. That's what you do. Basically, you're not a partner. That's for idiots. You're not a partner. You're just a vassal state. United States tomorrow tells you this, you'll do it. Everything they say. Everything. In any hole. Considering the latest events, what we've seen happening in Poland just a week ago, we think that while we talk about reinforcement of the eastern flank, first of all, it has to be better air defense, better missile defense, because we believe would be the first line of defense. So bring more troops here. Yes, right? Bring them. Because you point out the Russians, the bad guys, bring them. And he asks for that later here. He says that, but as significant as a threat as Russia presents, Lithuania also has its eyes on other countries that aim to change the global rules-based order, such as China. It had a little spat. So this guy tells us that the world is ruled by rule-based order. He's a liar. He is a liar. Why? Look how many UN resolutions to condemn Israel or condemn the United States' embargo, for instance, of Cuba were voted. Anything changed? No. I thought the rule-based. How did you vote about that? Did you vote to condemn the United States? And if yes, then what happened? Nothing. So you don't tell me about the rule-based whatever. Yeah, that's just just talking. And it says here that all our main investors are coming either from the Western European countries or from the US, and I think that it could be an example because it's not just that political decision, it's a national security decision as well. If you assume that they are the good guys, which you do, but they're not necessarily the good guys. You want to know how? Look at Serbia, Yugoslavia, 1999. Those good. Look at Libya. Look at Iraq. What are you talking about? And he says here that we were forced to adapt to very, very harsh measures imposed on us by the, where is that? That's a different, I don't understand what the hell that was. Harsh by the PRC, and I don't know what it is. One of the tools and instruments that we have in order to do that is sanctions. So we have one of the tools and instruments we have in order to do that, to put people in their place, is sanctions. What sanctions you got? 2.5 million people with this economy. You have zero. You have no power. You have power because you're a little jackal, a little hyena at the shade or shadow of the big lion. That's all. And you have a big mouth, and that mouth, I think, might be smacked later by the same guy that you right now talk smack. Continue to talk smack. Therefore, he proposed the formats where I'm able to do that in Brussels, to sanction Iran more heavily. So this weasel, 2.5, I'm going to repeat that 1,000 times, 2.5 million people, is going to sanction 80 million people, Iran. If, what's the name of this? Lithuania will get face to face in the middle of the night with Iran would mow it. They're going to fuck it up. Zero. And you're going to see these guys sucking Iran's you know what, and he's going to be with Iran in a second. That's the character of this guy. But because he's behind the United States, he proposed to sanction Iran. Lithuania, Iran. Really? And they also had a spat with who? With China. With China. Now this is... and remember, if tomorrow the United States is gone, they will be friends with everybody else. We're going to be friends with China. We'll be friends with Iran. I guarantee you that. Because this is the style. These are the people. I met them. They change their mind depending how the boss says. If the boss says or the boss changes, he's with the other one. Who's the strongest? I'm with him, and I'm going to be mouthing the other one. This is such a weasel behavior. So therefore, I imposed in the formats, yes, sanctions in Iran more heavily. I think that there is a new momentum to take up a bit stronger stance. When it comes to do just to not just the regime that we're spoken about, but also Iran, talk about China. So there's a momentum to take up a bit stronger stance. What are you talking about? 2.5 million. But also Iran, he added, saying that he would be quite surprised if the JCPOA went ahead. Anyway, this is the guy, these are people that you met in your life. That you look around and they say something right now in a meeting, and then in 5 minutes or 2 minutes they say something else, depending what the boss says. Let's say the boss says, let's do it like this. Yes, I think it's a good idea. Yes. And then the boss after 2 minutes says, maybe we should do it not like this, but like that. And he's going to be the first one. Yes. Or changes camps. That's why he's a foreign minister of a country. And we are not. Because that's the way it goes. We impose sanctions. You shut the fuck up. 2.5 million people in a small country with an economy that, I don't know if it covers, 3 villages and 5, swimming pools. Jesus Christ. But anyway, this is what happens. And these guys challenges China, Iran, Russia. I'm telling you, if the United States is gone, this guy will be the first one to drop on his knees and suck those 3 countries' balls and all that. Guarantee you. And these are the guys in control of a country. This guy. Foreign minister, this guy. The chief negotiator, diplomat. Lying through by omission. Imagine you have this guy in front of you and you are in a faith-based negotiation with these guys, like fair, No, you can't. You can't. You say, well, these are glasses, right? You say, it depends. Conversation is over then. You know what I mean? It depends on... You say, well, that's how negotiations go. Okay, then. Well, maybe, I don't like this kind of negotiations. But it works for this guy. But they fuck up everything for us. Because we, with good intention, we meet these people like this, and we have to defend somehow our interest somehow. And you can say, hey, wait a second, here's a pair of glasses, let's move on and discuss about it. He's going to say, no. What do you mean? They act using different set of skills that some of us feel embarrassing to use. Not incapable, embarrassed. Beneath our level. Yes, some people are like this, some people are like that. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.